The old asylum stood at the edge of Blackthorn Hollow, its cracked walls veiled in ivy and the whispers of the dead. Elara had heard the stories, how patients vanished from their beds, how shadows pooled like ink in the hallways, how the wind carried voices pleading for release. But she came anyway. Her sister Leora had been one of those patients, and the hollow in Elara's chest demanded answers. The iron gates groaned as she pushed them open. Inside, the air tasted of mildew and memories. Her flashlight flickered, painting jagged shapes on peeling wallpaper. It started as a murmur, faint as a moth's swing. Find us, find us. Elara froze. The voice was layered, a chorus of sighs. She followed the sound to the third floor, where the air grew colder. A door hung ajar, its number rusted off. Beyond it stretched a room with no windows, no furniture, only a void. Not darkness, but a lack, a tear in the fabric of the world. It pulsed blacker than pitch, swallowing the beam of her flashlight, and within it, faint as smoke, faces shimmered. You shouldn't be here, a woman's voice hissed, close, too close. Elara spun, but the room was empty. Leora, she called. The void rippled. A figure materialized at its edge, translucent and fraying. Her sister's eyes were hollow, her mouth a silent scream. Behind her, more phantoms crowded, patients in tattered gowns, nurses with ashen faces, all straining against an unseen force. It feeds on longing, Leora's voice echoed, not from her lips, but the walls themselves. We're trapped. Our regrets anchor us. Elara reached out, but her hand passed through Leora's form. The void yawned wider, its whispers swelling to a roar. It pulled at her, not her body but herself, her grief, her guilt over leaving Leora here years ago. The ghosts wailed, clawing at the edges of the abyss. How do I free you? Elara begged. Leora's image flickered. You can't, but you can stay. The void coiled around Elara's ankles, cold and inexorable. She stumbled back, but the ghosts surged forward, their desperation a tangible force. They wanted her to join them, to add her voice to their chorus. As the darkness climbed her thighs, Elara did the only thing she could. She screamed. Not in fear, but in fury. She screamed for Leora, for the lost, for the hollow in her own heart. The void recoiled, hissing like steam. For a heartbeat, the ghosts stilled. Then the floor gave way. Elara woke at dawn, sprawled on the asylum's overgrown lawn. The building loomed, silent now. No whispers, no shadows. But when she tried to speak, her voice came out a rasp, as if something had stolen its strength. Back in town, they asked what she'd found. She wrote her answer, her throat raw. Nothing. But at night she hears them, the whispers, her sisters most of all. They're quieter now, nestled in the hollow of her ribs, and when she stares too long at the dark, she sees it, a ripple, a hunger, waiting. The void, they say, never stops whispering. It just learns to speak in a voice you'll trust. Elara returned to Blackthorn Hollow a week later, her voice still stolen. The townsfolk avoided her. Now, crossing the street when she passed, they knew the signs, the ashen complexion, the way her shadow sometimes lagged, as if something clung to it. But she couldn't leave, not yet. The asylum's grounds were different in daylight. Sunlight filtered through skeletal trees, casting lace-like patterns on the overgrown gravel paths. Yet the building itself remained untouched by warmth, its windows like dead eyes. Elara circled it, tracing her fingers along the foundation. The stones were cold even at noon. In the dirt near the east wing, she found a child's doll, cracked porcelain, one glass eye missing. When she picked it up, the whispers surged. Mama, a tiny voice, brittle as old paper. Elara dropped the doll. The air around it shimmered, and for a heartbeat she saw her, a girl in a blood-stained nightgown, her hair matted, one eye socket empty. The ghost reached for her, then dissolved into a curl of mist. The doll's remaining eye now held a milky film, as if it had aged decades in seconds. That night, Elara broke into the town's derelict archives. Dust hung thick in the air, and the single bulb flickered as she combed through crumbling ledgers. She found it tucked between census records, a journal labeled Dr. Elias Voss, head physician, Blackthorn Asylum, 1898 to 1912. The entries began with clinical detachment, patient 23, hysterical fits, claims to hear the walls breathing, recommended treatment, hydrotherapy. But as the pages turned, Voss's handwriting grew jagged, paranoid. October 31st, 1911, the void has awakened. It came through patient 76, the mute girl found in the woods. She drew it in her cell, a black maw devouring the floor. The orderlies laughed, called it child's scribbles, but Jenkins stepped on the drawing and sank. We heard him screaming for hours, muffled as if from deep underground. November 7, 1911. It feeds on the unresolved. The more we suppress the patient starers, the stronger it grows. Mrs. Hargrove, delusional after her son's drowning, begged us to close the hole in the world. Tonight her bed was empty. Only her wedding ring remained, half melted, as if chewed. The final entry was a single sentence, scrawled in what looked like charcoal. It wants a bridge, a living bridge. Elara returned to the asylum at midnight, the journal clutched to her chest. This time she brought a knife, salt, and a Polaroid camera, her grandmother's superstitious arsenal. The void had retreated to a corner of the third-floor room, now a smoldering patch of blackness no larger than a hearth. But the ghosts were louder. "It's growing again," Leora's voice whispered, this time from the camera's viewfinder. Elara raised it and snapped a photo. The flash erupted, and the developing image made her blood freeze. A dozen skeletal hands reached out from the void, inches from her face. She sprinkled salt in a circle around herself, the granules hissing as they touched the floorboards. "Tell me how to end this," she demanded. The air thickened. Leora's ghost flickered into view, clearer now. "The void is a wound," she said, her voice frayed. "It feeds on pain to stay open, but wounds can be stitched. If you have thread." "What thread?" "Memory, sacrifice, a soul strong enough to pull ours back." Elara understood. The bridge Dr. Voss mentioned wasn't a structure, it was a person. Someone to tether the lost souls to the living world long enough to sever the void's hold. But the cost. "It would trap me here," Elara said softly. Leora's form rippled. "No, it would bind you to us. You'd be neither alive nor dead, a keeper, a lantern in the dark." Dawn approached. Elara sat cross-legged before the void, the knife in her lap. The ghosts crowded around her, their whispers weaving into a dirge. "Do it," she said. Leora's hand, cold, insubstantial, guided hers. The blade sliced Elara's palm, blood welling black in the dim light. She pressed her hand to the void. The room erupted. The void shrieked, a sound like glaciers cracking. The ghosts surged forward, their forms solidifying as they clawed free of the abyss. Elara felt it, the pull, the hunger, as the void fought to keep them. It siphoned her memories, Leora's laughter, her mother's funeral, the ache of years spent pretending she didn't miss the sister she'd failed. "Take them," Elara screamed. "Take every last one." The void recoiled. It could devour grief, but not defiance, not this raw, roaring refusal to let loss define her. The ghosts slipped through its grasp, one by one, their forms dissolving into silver mist. Leora lingered longest, her hand brushing Elara's cheek. "Thank you," she breathed, "but it's not over. It's never over." The asylum collapsed at sunrise, walls folding inward like a rotten tooth. Elara woke in the ruins, her voice still gone, her blood now tinged with streaks of black. The townsfolk swear the haunting ended. They're wrong. Elara roams the country now, hitchhiking highways at night. She stops at forgotten places, abandoned hospitals, drowned towns, suicide forests. Wherever the veil is thin, she feels the pull. The void is quieter, but it's there, coiled in her shadow. Sometimes she helps. A sobbing ghost in a motel finds peace after Elara burns their unfinished letter. A poltergeist in a diner vanishes when she whispers their name. But other times, when the moon is blood, red, and the air smells of static, she lets the void feed. Just a little, because she knows the truth. Some hungers can't be destroyed, only balanced, and in her dreams, Leora walks a starless shore, guiding lost souls away from the tide. She smiles, but her eyes are always watching the horizon, waiting for the next crack in the world.